What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Jacob Daniel back at it again here at the Speed Kills podcast. As I am recording this episode currently, the Reds are 22-26, and they just came off a 3-0 win last night against the Brewers. In their last 10 games, they have a record of 6-4. They're one of the most talented teams in baseball. I really love watching this Reds team because they have a lot of talent. They have the potential to win lots of games. They have some of the best pitching in the National League. They have a legit Cy Young contender in Luis Castillo, and the rotation is pretty good. There's been some struggles in the bullpen, but here on the Speed Kills podcast, I'm going to give you 6 reasons why the Cincinnati Reds are under 500 right now as I'm recording this. Reason number 1 that I have is because of their rough start to the season. They started off the season 1-8, and I don't care what baseball team you are or what sport you play, you do not want to start off your season with 1 win and 8 losses. You're starting the season off on an uphill battle, and you're starting the season in a hole that is really hard to dig out of, and you don't want to do that, especially as a baseball team, because those wins can hurt you in the long run. And yeah, baseball, you're going to lose some and you're going to win some, but you want to almost split, I don't want to say almost split 500 or be a little bit above 500, but you don't want to lose, almost 90% of your first 9 games. You want to at least split them, or at least go 4-5, or you want to go 3-6. And if they would have gone that, I think that they would be above 24 wins right now, or above 25 wins. They probably would be playing just around 500 ball. They're playing 450 ball right now, but they would be closer to 500 ball if they did not go 1-8 in their start. My second reason why I think the Cincinnati Reds are under 500 currently is because the struggles of Joey Votto. Joseph Daniel Votto has been one of the most consistent hitters of all time for the Cincinnati Reds, and he's really been the backbone of the Reds for most of my lifetime. He's a rookie in 2008, and he's been the MVP in 2010, and he's come up short in other MVP voting, but he's always had consistent hitting. He's always got on base a ton, and he's always been, that spark. I don't want to say the spark for the Reds, but he's always gotten on base and always scored runs. Currently, right now in the 2019 season, he's batting .208 with a .323 on-base percentage with 8 RBI, and it just looks like he's trying too hard at the plate right now. I've never seen Joey Votto choke up on the bat every single at-bat and every single pitch, but he's been doing that this year all the time, and it just seems like that he's swinging late on fastballs. He's been fouling off a lot of fastballs and just hasn't had consistency at the plate, and that's not like Joseph Daniel Votto. Usually he'd have great plate discipline, he's going to get walked some, and then he's going to have hits. It doesn't seem like, I don't want to say his plate discipline has left, because it hasn't, but he's been getting really unlucky. And after his 2018 season, which was kind of a down year, we expected him to bounce back in 2018 or 2019, and that hasn't happened yet. We're just waiting for Joey Votto to be himself once again. And another thing that could be affecting Joey Votto is that the rest of the team's kind of struggling too, so he might think that as a leader, he needs to get those hits, and he might be swinging too much, just trying too hard to be that leader and try to be that spark for the Reds. And Joey Votto just needs to do his thing and be who he is and just get on base and get back to his normal 300 hitting self. His lifetime average is 308. He's never been a sub 200 hitter or a low 200 hitter. So I think Joey Votto will get to be himself, but he just has to work on it here soon. The third reason that the Cincinnati Reds are under 500 is by a closer named Raisel Iglesias. Raisel Iglesias has blown many saves for the Reds, and it is not has been, batters have getting hits off him and then they'll single and then score a run from second. He's given up a lot of home runs, 4 wins, a lot of walk-offs. And Raisel Iglesias came out and said that he doesn't like the way that David Bell has been using him. It just sounds like he's not happy with his performance. And as a fan, I'm not really happy with his performance earlier on in the season. As of late, he's done well with closing games. Earlier on in the season, he lost a lot of games for the Cincinnati Reds. His ERA is not really great, but I don't think you'd look at that for a closer. When you come into the game with a 2-run or a 3-run lead, you should be closing out that game, and there should be no question about it. I remember, I'm going to bring this game up every time I record, it seems like. When I went to the game that the Reds were leading, 10-3 and 8-0, he gave up a home run in the bottom of the ninth, or the top of the ninth, excuse me. It was a home run, and it tied the game. And you just don't want to see that from your closer. He's kind of been struggling this year, and he's making steps towards the old Raisel Iglesias, and I think it's some velocity issues with Raisel and some confidence issues. So once he gets confident and he's throwing really good fastballs, really good velocity, I see him being a really good closer and pulling saves for this Reds team. The fourth reason that I have for the Cincinnati Reds being under 500 is just inconsistent play. A lot of the hitters, they'll be hot sometimes and they'll be cold sometimes, and we've seen a lot of that cold streak a lot of times. I don't think there's one batter on the Cincinnati Reds that is batting over 300. I know Jose Iglesias is really close to batting 300, but no one else is even close. A lot of them are near 250 and below 200. 250. And we just didn't expect that from the Cincinnati Reds lineup. Hitting struggles have come early and often. And I kind of talked about that with Joey Votto. You just need to bring the bats out. When they bring the bats out, the pitching doesn't bring itself out. Inconsistent play between the batting and the pitching. And if those hit at the same time, then we're going to win that game that we're playing that day, because the Reds can hit the cover off the ball and they can pitch really well. And when you put those two together, you win baseball games. No matter what analytics say or what anything else says, you're going to win baseball games if those two things are hitting on that day. My fifth reason for the Cincinnati Reds being under 500 is unlucky one-run losses. There's been countless times this season where the Reds have only lost by one run. They'll lose 6-5, 1-0, 3-2. And that's another thing with the inconsistent play and kind of the struggling bats. Because if a pitcher, I know Luis Castillo has gone out there many times and held a team to one run, and then the Reds cannot get the win because they can't hit in 2 runs. Baseball analytics say that those wins are going to come around. The luck for the Cincinnati Reds has just been super bad with those one-run losses. The luck will come around. We're going to win those games later on in the season. We're only about a quarter of the way through the season, so those games are going to come back and we're going to win those one-run games, because that's what analytics are going to say, and that's how baseball works. You're going to lose some, you're going to win some. But if we were on the winning end of those one-run games, there's no question in my mind that the Cincinnati Reds would be above 500 right now as I'm speaking, because I'm pretty sure they've had 10 or more games where they've only lost by one run, and that's just really unlucky. Usually you win some and lose some and not lose all of those one-run games. So when the Reds win those one-run games, they will be above 500. My sixth reason for the Cincinnati Reds being below 500 is they play in a great division. I've talked about this many times on the podcast, but the National League Central, in my opinion, is one of the best divisions in baseball right now. The Cubs are 28-18, and they're playing 600 ball right now. There's 4 teams that are playing above 500 ball right now, which those being the Brewers, the Pirates, and the Cardinals. And I think at least 2, if not 3 teams from this division are going to make the playoffs. I think the Cubs are probably going to win the division, and then there's going to be probably 2 wildcard teams that come from this division. A lot of this league is very good. The Reds are in last place. They're 7 games behind right now as I'm recording this, so it's kind of hard when you play in that tough of a division to get wins out of the series and win series or sweep series, because with all these great teams, it's really hard, especially in the NL Central as one of the best divisions in Major League Baseball, in my opinion. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to stay tuned here on the podcast as I'm always trying to pump out quality content for you guys, so make sure to stay tuned for the next video.